Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with Coach. I am Coach Roach. Thank you all for joining me. We've had a lot go on in the sports world this week as well. I want to start off first with the Raptors. Now, on my last episode, I had mentioned about more or less if the Raptors win and if they lose. Obviously, it's going to be more when. How would this team respond? And losing to Charlotte, that was a game they should have won. Everybody was healthy. Nobody guarded Miles Bridges in overtime. And that was a game, quite frankly, you needed RJ Barrett because they were just out muscling, out playing, out physical. Miles Bridges, Diabate, Sexton, these guys, they were just taking the Raptors to school, quite honestly. And LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller weren't even on the floor. They're two best players. So that was a time in which Coach Lee, Charles Lee, he went with the guys that he trusted to be physical with the Raptors, and it paid off. And that was also a game in which Quickly's decision making was a bit questionable. And Brandon Ingram, he just kind of shot the team out of the game. He just didn't have it that game. Scotty Barnes was pretty good for sure. But that was their first loss, in a very long time. And then they played the Knicks, which that was the game I expected them to lose. We are not a good matchup against New York. Towns is a problem for us. He always has been. Then you've got Brunson, the big body Brunson, as Big Perk says, he's also a problem for us. So Brunson and Towns, like a big point guard who can get into the paint and shoot. And then you got Towns, who was like out-muscling three guys at one time. I think he out-muscled Scotty, Ochai, and I think the other one was Mamu on the floor, and he just got to the hoop and crammed it on him. So we are not really built or set up to go up against the Knicks, and they didn't have OG in that game. Knicks will be a problem for us until we become more physical. But also, that was a game I will acknowledge we didn't have Pirtle or RJ. Again, those were two games where you could have used RJ Barrett. RJ can still get his own shot, get to the hoop, and Ingram's numbers somewhat have taken a dip. I think he's more turnovers too without RJ. So more is being asked of Ingram at this time. Sorry, getting an update. Sports update, no big deal. But it just goes to show they need RJ Barrett in the lineup. RJ's good for 20 a game. There's death, taxes, and RJ scoring 20. And there's a big three or a big four if you want to add quickly that can get you 20 a game. And that really takes the pressure off of everyone else to them or for anyone to score 25 or 30 a game. It helps when you have four of you that can score 20. So I think when RJ comes back, I'm pretty confident that you're going to see Ingram's game improve. His efficiencies go up. He's probably got some heavy legs too at this point. Remember, this guy's barely played in a year. And he's played in 22 games, I think, this season. He's played in every single game. Kudos to him. So I'm looking forward to when RJ comes back to take on a little bit of the scoring pressure off of Ingram. Last night, big win against Portland. Beyond and I, and hopeful, we've had conversations about Shaden Sharp in the past. So when I first moved to Ontario, I was going to be part of a recruiting agency, similar to what they call North Pole Hoops. Shaden Sharp was certainly on our radar at the time. I think he was in grade 11 or 12. So I knew about Sharp and how good he was. Like some of the things that I saw about Sharp at that time before he went to Kentucky, I just looked at him. I said, oh my gosh, that could be Canada's greatest player ever. He's that talented. He's that good. He's that dynamic. He jumps out of the gym. Like you want to pay tickets to go and see this guy. The jump shot looks smooth. The handle's fine. He's got good size for a guard or for a wing. Watching Sharp, kind of soar through the air last night against the Raptors, I was just like, that 2022 draft where it was rumored that OG could have been in a deal to Portland, that we would have got one of their picks, which could have turned into Shaden Sharp. I always have that in the back of my mind to say, what if? But hey, it's okay. I like the trade anyway with RJ and Quickly. That's fine, but my goodness, when you see Shaden Sharp, you just want to go buy a ticket and say, let's watch this guy fly. He threw down a windmill last night. I think I don't know if it was in the game or it was after a foul or something. You're so effortless. It reminded me of Vince watching him as a kid. Vince was obviously a little bit better, but Sharp's got that kind of talent though. He really does. And I think if he found himself in a different situation, he could really take off. But so yeah, that was a good win last night for the Raptors. Really, again, super impressed with Scotty. Scotty's playing his best basketball of his career. He had a big time game winning block last night on Avdia. He just continues to impress me. And I think I had heard on the broadcast last night, I think it was Leo. More or less, I think they were pointing to the consistency of Scotty. Oh, my apologies. I know who it was. I think it was Josh Lewinberg. And this is the consistency that we've always been trying to talk about. Like, you would get this stretch from Scotty in years past for a few games, but you wouldn't get it for this amount of time during the season. He is giving it at both ends of the floor, having an impact. He was making a bunch of threes last night. I think he had like 28, 7, and 7 for a game, which is really good. He's attacking the rim. He is just that two-way monster that we knew that he had it. And we just hope that the consistency continues because he's playing really well right now. I've said it before. I think he's the MVP of this team so far. I think if there was an all-star to be chosen, it's him over Ingram right now. Ingram's playing fine. He's playing really well. You need him. And he's had some big games. But this is Scotty's team. He's the guy that's making an impact at both ends of the floor. And you kind of wonder as the season progresses, is he going to keep this up, for one? And is it more than just an all-star nod for him? Could it be all NBA? Could it be all defense? Could it be defensive player of the year? Because the longer Wemby's out, the more of a chance he's going to have at winning defensive player of the year. I'm not putting him there yet. I'm going to put him in the all-star category. I'm going to put him in all defense. I mean, I think he's the first Raptor ever to win all defensive player of the month. So this continued consistency from Barnes has been very encouraging. And just seeing this all-around game, leadership on the floor. I think in his interview last night, he talked about his teammates. Pretty unselfish of him. And that's something you want to see from a leader. The other big news today, and it just came out, I think Brian Windhorst reported it, that Giannis wants out. Now, this isn't a huge secret. I think it's been kind of noted back in the summer that after they traded Dame, Middleton was gone, Brook Lopez left, that Giannis's time in Milwaukee could be coming to an end pretty soon. And I think Giannis should want out. I think Giannis has given everything to Milwaukee. It's not like he's just been there for 4 or 5 years and that's it. I don't get what Milwaukee's doing when you have a talent like Giannis. They're really hamstrung when it comes to the cap. They're paying Dame a lot of money for the next few years. Like a lot. They bought him out. So they're already up against the cap. They're not good enough. I think Giannis realizes that in the East. I saw some comments today on Twitter saying, Bobby, go get Giannis. I hope people realize what that would cost. That would cost the defensive player of the month. You ain't getting Giannis without Scotty. Is that something you want? Now, back in the summer, was that a conversation? It absolutely was. Absolutely. But as we are starting to see Scotty's ascension, And not to say Giannis is playing bad. Obviously, he's still Giannis, but we know the downturn in Giannis is probably coming quicker than it is for Barnes. Does Scotty reach that level of a Giannis? I don't know. But will Scotty have more of a is Scotty's prime starting now going to extend longer than Giannis's career moving forward? Then yes, Scotty could be very good for the next 5, 6, 7 years, possibly. Ranchi's about 30. And Giannis would probably is out of the league by that point. So is it worth it to trade 6 or 7 good years of Barnes for maybe 2 to 3 years of Giannis? I would say not. I think if you're the Raptors, and I don't think they're entertaining this at all. I'm more or less commenting on what has been noted on Twitter from fans that just stay out of the Giannis sweepstakes. Milwaukee will want the house. Don't give up any picks. Keep your picks. Go with what's been working well. Scotty's been playing the best basketball of his career. That would also probably cost you Grady Dick. I know Grady's not playing very well, but there were signs last night in the game where if you ever got him in rhythm and going and more consistent minutes, Darko, I think you can have a Grady that you saw last year for the first 25 games, who's basically getting you anywhere from 20 to 25 a game. Pretty efficient, 3-level scorer he was showing, or 3-level abilities he was showing. So, in terms of the Giannis sweepstakes, I would stay away. I think the Spurs can make a very compelling offer. I think the Atlanta Hawks can make a big-time offer. They still have picks. They got definitely player capital. Offer them Jalen Johnson and Zachary Reese-Shea. See what you get. You can get Giannis. Or a Zachary Reese-Shea and Dyson Daniels and some picks. That would be enough, I think, with some other pieces, of course. But you can put a framework together to get Giannis. I think the other one I saw as well was OKC. OKC doesn't need Giannis. You've got Chet. Hartenstein, I think, is hurt, but he'll be back soon. You have Jalen Williams. You have Shea. They're already look like they could be the best team ever, regular season team, if they keep this up. They'll probably shatter the Golden State 73-9 record. OKC is for real. I don't think you need to mess that up. You're already going to have potentially 2 top 10 picks in this draft because they have the Clippers unprotected pick, and the Clippers are really bad. So there's a world where OKC gets the number 1 pick. Imagine Cam Boozer or Darren Peterson or Caleb Wilson or Debansa showing up in OKC with a Shea, with a Jalen Williams, with a Cason Wallace, Western Conference Defensive Player of the Month. I know our good friend Kenyon of Basketball Rewind, our co-host, or excuse me, our host, is really happy about that because we've always been big fans of him. So, in terms of Giannis, if I'm the Raptors, maybe you call, maybe you see what you gauge interest, because I think it's just doing due diligence, but you know what the offer is. And I don't think you're ready to part with Scotty. And I don't know if you should. So, moving on from basketball, we'll go to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, they continue to make noise before the winter meetings. The winter meetings start next week for the GMs. And Jays signed Cody Ponce yesterday. For those of you who don't know, he pitched in the Korean Baseball League last year. 17-1 record for a pitcher, which is incredible. He struck out over 240 batters. You don't see that too much. I get it. It's not the major leagues. That's still a really big time pitching season. When you have that many wins, an ERA of under 2, and you strike out 240 batters, that's big time. That's really good. So I think they also signed Ponce not to come out of the bullpen. I think they signed him to be in the rotation this year, which begs the question, who's on the chopping block? I think it's Jose Barrios. Barrios is always good for giving you 180 to 200 innings a year, which the Blue Jays front office loves. And I think any organization should love that because your bullpen gets so taxed if you don't have your starters being able to pitch at least 180 innings per year. If you can get 200 innings out of someone, which they typically have from Barrios, That's a luxury. But Barrios has not been good the last couple of years. He's starting to see some decline. I do wonder if they're going to be entertaining some trade interest for him because he didn't play in the playoffs. We know he was hurt, but you just don't go sign Cody Ponce and bring back Eric Lauer. Um, Still have Ricky Tiedemann on the roster. Have Bowden Francis, along with the four starters that you already have in Bieber, Savage, Dylan Cease now, and Kevin Gausman. The Jays have like 7 or 8 starters. You typically don't have 2 long men out of the bullpen. You have one, and I think that will be Eric Lauer. So one of the starters, mark my words, will be gone, and it's probably Barrios. Be curious to see what they would get for him. I know they need some relief pitching. They need some back end guys who can punch up to 98 to 100. It is very much about velocity when it comes to the bullpen. When you're a starting pitcher, you can kind of change up speeds. One time you're 92, another time you're 97 or 96. As long as you're hanging around those speeds, you don't want to be 90 and 92. We typically don't have much success. But when it comes to baseball, you can never have enough pitching, that's for sure. So Cody Ponce, I think I like this signing. 3 years, $30 million. You're taking a flyer on him, and you're banking on that he can be like a 5th starter. You don't know what he's going to give you, but when he was in the majors last time, like 5 years ago, he was not very good. But he went to South Korea, and he went from throwing like 92 to 97 with they call it a funky change. I think it's what they call it. So he's got a changeup that's really good. I think he's got a good slider and wants to add a sinker pitch. Everybody wants to have Kevin Gausman's sinker. Dylan Cease actually commented on it as well. Everybody loves it. They should be looking at Trey Savage's sinker too. Or no, sorry, it's the splitter. My apologies. Everybody should be talking about Trey Savage's splitter because that thing looks like it's near unhittable at times. So, in the last part of our show, because we will get out of here, is Kyle Tucker. Robert Murray, MLB analyst, reported that he was spotted at the Dunedin complex today, which is the Jays complex. So he's there visiting. Again, how do we remember this? Because 2 years ago, Shohei Ohtani showed up there, and they met with him. Interview went well at that time. Kyle Tucker's different because Tucker's not Shohei Ohtani, but it does show that there's some serious interest in Kyle Tucker on this baseball team. Tucker comes in, he plays right field. That would probably move Barger to third. I think it would, and then you're out on Bo Bichette. You're not bringing in Dylan Cease and Kyle Tucker and then being able to afford Bo Bichette. So if that does happen, I think that Tucker will be on the team. He'll be in the outfield with Varsho and one of Lucas or Santander. But Kyle Tucker is a number 2 bat in your lineup behind George Springer and ahead of Vladdy Guerrero. You're no joke. You're gunning for the American League pennant again and to have a chance to go to the World Series. I just really hope they don't mess with us again like the Ohtani stuff because we heard all that. And it was frustrating as a Blue Jays fan because, look, when I grew up, the Jays weren't really in on many people at all. They didn't have the money or they didn't really spend the money to do so. The last 2 or 3 years, Rogers has thrown money at everybody. Everybody. All the analysts say the Jays are in on him. Doesn't matter. They're good or bad. The Jays are in on him, it seems. So we'll see from this. But the Jays are moving forward. I like what Atkins and Shapiro are doing. They're not messing around. They got within 2 inches of winning a World Series. What do? You become hungry for more. Now you're even more eager to bring a championship back to Toronto. And this is the time. You have Vladdy in his prime. You got the last of George Springer. We'll see if Bo's coming back. You might have the last of Kevin Gausman. You got Dylan Cease now in his prime. You got Jimenez in his prime. We'll see if they bring back Bo. Jays are in a really, really cool spot right now. And it's also good to see the Raptors moving up and being in a good spot as well. So we'll look to cap that off for today. Don't go after Giannis. I know he's great. I don't think it will happen anyway. It will cost you Scotty. I don't think that's much of a case right now. So everybody take care and thank you very much. Bye-bye.